Welcome to the platform. So my name is Dr. Raja Yasmin. So if you are in this platform, you are going to get to know not just who I am, but also what I do. And yes, I love to help business entrepreneurs, business leaders. I love to help, in terms of marketing, helping them in terms of marketing their products or services, and also in terms of building their brand. So for people who are joining me now, so please say hi to me. Welcome. So today is our third session. Today is our third session where we are going to dive in and learn more on our next strategy, which is on action plan strategy. So people who are here, so you guys can say hi, introduce yourself, let me know where you are from. I look forward because today will be our last day. So see, I'm checking here also, making sure that it's all good. Yep, all good. All right, so welcome. And if you guys are here since day one, I would love to say congratulations to you. So congratulations for your commitment, starting from day one, day two, and today is day three. So while waiting, so people who are here, you guys can ask me any question. So if you are very curious, what you have been doing in day one, day two, and then now today is day three. Definitely I would love to answer all your questions. Okay. So for people who have already joined in for day one and day two, definitely you have actually understand a bit more. Like in day one, I help you with your thinking strategy. So if you are not here in day one and day two, basically you can go back and start watching. So how important it is, to understand before we set up our goals. Is very important also to understand your big why. So in your big why also, I already give some kind of a understanding and exposure in terms of your thinking as well. So it's very, very important, guys, to firstly understand the bigger picture, the why your goal is so meaningful to you. So thank you so much for people who are jumping in. I totally understand because sometimes people might join in later, but if we are here, okay, all good. Right, so let's begin what we are going to share today, because today is more on the action plan. So we are going to dive in and look into understanding more about habits and rituals. So this is very important because in day one we spoke about the thinking strategy, how important it is, to start understanding about how important the concept of strategizing your thinking, how we can learn to think more strategically, how it can actually support you in terms of focusing is one thing, and also in terms of making a decision. Because the whole idea of this accountability challenge is basically to support you, to help every single one of you guys today who is actually watching, who wanting to get back on track and wanted to have that momentum going, because you want to achieve your goal. So everybody here, I totally understand, you really want to achieve your goals, and I understand your goal is matter to you, it's so much important to you. However, sometimes many of us feel very frustrated with ourselves. We set up all this amazing goal, we have all this drive at first, when we want to begin, at first we're so excited with it, and then all of a sudden we kind of like lose momentum, and there's many reasons why, so we have actually dived in together in day one. And in day two is where I actually help you guys in structuring, develop the structure for your goals. So it's very important. And I have actually shared the books by Chris McKinney, Sean Covey, and Jim, where the book is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. So we have discussed that yesterday. So whoever is here, who's watching, say hi to me. I can't see until you comment. So thank you so much for people who joining me. Anyway, let's dive into our next session today. So our next session, today will be on the action plan, because yesterday we already have developed specifically the widely important goal, and we have actually dived in together, understanding the reason behind it, why you need to have widely important goal, what does it mean by widely important goal, what does that mean, what does that mean to you. So how are you guys doing in terms of you being more accountable with yourself? So I believe that Sister Hadia, you were here yesterday, and also today we're going to dive in more into the action plan. Okay, so for people who might be just jump on today, so please go back to video 1 and video 2 to understand more. You got to go through all those steps. Okay, so how about you, Sister Hadia? How are you doing in terms of goal settings and everything? Have you set up your goals? Yeah, so I have done mine here, so all good to go. Hi Junaida, how are you? I know it's been a while. Yeah, how are you doing, Junaida? Yeah, I heard so many stories back home in Malaysia. I'm so sorry. Like, life can be pretty tough at this stage. Yeah, so I've been reading all the messages, the news. My parents has been actually updating me as well. Certain things, of course, it's just that it's just too hard. We can't control it. So whatever it takes is very important. Whatever we can do, to help people in any way, just do it, guys. Just do it. Not necessary, like in terms of just giving money. You can offer in many ways. Like for myself, I do coaching a lot. So I do a bit in terms of volunteering work as well. So people who really, really need that support, they need that safe space. They need to talk to someone. So I do that as well once in a while to volunteer and support people. One important goal. You love it? Yes, all good. Yeah, so I already set mine. So Junaida, you haven't been into the first session and the second session. Later you can have a look if you think this is matter to you, is very important to you, and in fact you can actually, whatever that you were learning from my video number 1, 2 and today, you can actually help other entrepreneurs out there, especially in Malaysia, because I know that you are helping business women as well. Yeah, Junaida. So I believe that this is the best time, for us to get that skill. So it's not just for ourselves, but also for the people around us. Probably they need help, so it doesn't matter what size of business you are having right now. So that's the reason why I'm coming up with this live session, or this 3-day accountability session, is to bring that awareness level. So it doesn't matter what size you are right now in your business, you got to start now. The most important thing is to start now, and I'll give you guys the reason why later. So firstly, I would just love to share. I've heard one of this video from the 4 discipline of execution, where I think Chris has mentioned about, when it comes to strategy and execution, the most toughest part is actually to execute things. Developing the strategy, the planning and everything is very, very, I would say, if you have that skills, you know how to do it, it's pretty simple. But the most toughest part is actually to execute. That's the most difficult part, guys. So for you to take action is one thing. This is based on my experience as well. And another thing is where for you to make sure that your action is consistent. So that is another challenge that I can see, where there's a huge gap, especially we as an entrepreneur, is very, very challenging. So how many of you guys here have that experience? You have those idea, for instance, like or you wanted to do something and you have this goal. For instance, like even for myself, I have so many times the experience where I tried to lose weight. I was so excited at first, but then after that, things just not according to plan anymore. So I lose focus, I lose interest. It can happen for only 2 weeks. Then after that, it goes back per normal. So how many of you guys have that experience before? In fact, when I run my business, because I have actually shared with many of you guys, when I run my business, there are some of the businesses that I did in the past. I managed to do it for only 1 year, or even my last, I think like one of the businesses that I did is I managed to hold on to it for only 6 months. Then after investing, I spent for about 30,000 for that business. And then what happened is it kind of like lose momentum. I just lose momentum. I don't feel like doing it, so I'm I'm not just losing in terms of money, but also in terms of time as well. So just imagine. And also my creativity, you know, coming up with that branding, coming up with this logo, investing so much time, being very, very creative, you know, developing all those you know, business logos, brand and everything, and it it just stopped in the middle. So this is the thing where I would love to highlight to everyone. And I read one of these quote. It is called by Benjamin Franklin. If you have heard about it, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Have you heard about this quote before? So if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. How amazing it is. So that's the reason why yesterday I helped you know, people to structure, you know, in terms of setting up their goals, how important it is, you know, for you to start planning. Because if you fail to plan, as Benjamin Franklin said, you plan to fail. Yep. So this can actually give us in terms of the awareness level as well, isn't it? In terms of our thinking. So yeah, think about it, guys, and see how that actually seems to be important to you at this current stage. So just reflect on this, because sometimes I love to, you know, to read through all these quotes, and then after that I'll just think about it and then start reflecting, you know, how that actually resonate with me. You know, should I just sit with my previous thinking, or should I change my thinking? So it's important, you know, for you to start building that awareness level. So if you really want to move forward, as I mentioned, you got to start change your thinking, you know, how you want it to move forward. So I love also this quote by my mentor. Hello, if you guys are here, thank you so much, guys, for being here. I'll just continue. I know sometimes people might jump in late. So we are going to talk about the action plan. But before we talk about the action plan, it's very important to understand a bit in terms of habits and ritual. And she mentioned about motivation. She talks about habit and structure. Motivation gets you started. Habit keep you going. Hello, whoever is here, okay, you can just say hi to me. Yes. So how is this resonating with you? Can you guys see from here? Is it clear? Should I bring Is it clear right now? Is it okay, guys? All clear? All right. So motivation. Motivation gets you started. Habit keep you going. Hey Janice, how are you? You're awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Janice. So you can watch video day 1 and day 2 later, because it goes into 3 different steps. It's very important, but that's fine. Just come and join me and see how I can actually help you further. And you can ask question here. Not many people here today, so basically we have more time. We have more time to chat, and we have more time to support each other, isn't it? So how are you doing, Janice? So yesterday I was talking about widely important goals, how important it is to structure, you know, to strategize, to plan, because Benjamin Franklin mentioned, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So again, it depends on your goal setting. It depends on your goal, how important it is, how meaningful it is. So I've actually spoke about that in day 1. Yesterday is all about structure. So those widely important goals come from the book called The 4 Discipline of Execution. So I have actually I think that, yeah, from the comment, I did actually mention to you about the book. Yeah, you can start reading the book. It's super, super awesome. And that's how I begin my journey in my business and how it actually changed and transformed and how I get the results. So that's the reason why I was so eager wanting to, to share with everyone today about how I actually implemented it myself. However, it took me 1 year because I was like sharing yesterday, my ego being rebellious and everything. Initially, I don't really agree with all this goal setting. What kind of goal setting is this? It's just childish. I was thinking that way until I started to recognize, until I started to see some other coaches are actually doing it. And when I've been mentored by some of the mentors, so I started to realize. So again, I changed my thinking perspective. It's all comes from our thinking, because the moment when we start changing our thinking, therefore that is where you can see your action will change as well. So your behavior will change as well. So going back to today's session, because initially just now I was like talking about how difficult it is, number one, to take action, how challenging it is, not just to take action but being consistent with it. So how many of you guys have that experience? You have all these goal settings and everything. Oh, I saw more comment from here. Oh, awesome. Just set my business plan for financial goal. Potential is huge. It's huge, Janice. It's huge. I even have another mentor where he is going to help me in terms of the business plan as well. So that business plan, as what you were saying, is huge because it involves a lot of focus, and it means so much. It means so much to me that for me to project how my business is going 1 year from now, 2 years from now, or even 5 years from now, sometimes I have that goosebump as well. When I started to put everything in place, I was like, oh my God. Because when I spoke about why the important goal yesterday, it must stretch you out from your comfort zone. Because when that happens, it gives you that different drive. So psychologically, like human being, we love to be challenged as well. But also it depends on the individual. Yeah, focus keeps the habits alive. Exactly. So again, going back to the thinking perspective, and today we are going to talk about habit and also what action plan that you need to take to make sure that you are always being consistent, even though, as I mentioned yesterday, even though it's a small baby step. So why I'm sharing this again? Because based on my experience, sometimes we, a human being, we are too over ambitious. Have you had that experience before? They have this wonderful goal, and then when you start putting in all those checklists, sometimes we, being so over ambitious, we thought that we can do everything. Like for myself, previously I was like having like 20 checklists per day, and it's just crazy. It drives me nuts as well, because it pushed so much pressure in myself, trying to complete everything. And when you're not being able to complete, what happened? You become more demotivated, isn't it? So it's written in the book also, do not have too many goals. So per quarter, have at least maximum 3 goals. If you have more, then you will not be able to achieve it. So it's already conducted in the study. So going back here, motivation gets you started. Habit keep you going. Now let's talk a bit in terms of habit. Okay, so habit is more like a consistent action that you must do. However, how come it's just too hard, to take certain action consistently? How come it's too hard to build that habit? So I just want you guys to imagine some of the habits that you've been doing daily. What are some of the habits that you've been doing daily and it becomes like an autopilot? Brushing your teeth, make your bed, clear the kitchen. What else? And you just imagine all these habits. How come it becomes automated? And how come there are certain habits, particularly this habit is so important to achieve your goal? How come it can be quite difficult to achieve it? Share with me, guys. What do you guys think? Right. Go back into habit. So my question here, Why is it hard to make it consistent? And we know consistency is important, correct? Particularly, we are talking about business here. Of course, you have your own personal goals. But in order to achieve whatever goals, business goals, personal goals, whatever things which is important to you, consistency will give better result. However, consistency is hard, especially when we are in the process of building a habit which we are not familiar with. For me, a habit is in alignment to my end goal. Definitely. That's what we want, yeah, Janice? However, sometimes things happen. You kind of like go off track, and then for you to get back on track, and starting to be consistent again, sometimes it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of energy, it plays around with our thinking as well. Yeah, so number one, the reason why sometimes it's quite hard is because some of the habit that we wanted it to become ritual, consistent, can be quite uncomfortable. Agree? Because how our brain works is that our brain is designed to make us safe. The moment when you feel uncomfortable, what is going to happen? There's a resistance coming out saying that, hey, don't do it. This is something that you are not familiar with. We as a human being are designed either to fight or to flight. Yeah, it depends on the circumstances. So particularly when you develop a goal, and that goal you never done before, of course, your action also will be something that you never experienced before. And now you wanted to experience it. And of course, something will trigger your brain saying that, hey, this is something that I need to alert you. This is something that you got to be aware. What's going on? Yeah? So Hadia said, I go off track a lot. Same here also, Sister Hadia. I mean, like, we are talking about human being here. Okay? We are not perfect. Yeah? So I've been trying so many times. So which means that coming up with my widely important goals, having all those scorecards and everything, I have done like 2 years ago. And again, as I mentioned, sometimes things get in the way, or there will be challenges, or something that you don't expect. All these challenges all of a sudden happen. You were so focused with your business, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, it just fall on your lap. And what do you need to do? And you might be like thinking, okay, I have to forget about all my goals and everything. I've just got to divert and focus on some other things. But for you to get back on track, that needs a lot of energy and motivation and pushing factor that give you the drives to start moving forward again. Nothing is hard if your heart is not in it and you are not looking to see the end of the outcome. I love that, Janice. So we had that conversation yesterday as well. Yes, been taken off path with a death in the family desktop. You are 100% true, Janice. Because that's the reason why I just had my session with my coach just now. So even she was mentioned, like, because sometimes, especially we women, I don't know about you guys, you've been too busy every day, doing this, doing that, doing business, taking care of the family, children and everything. Because the moment when you have to stop for a while, sometimes you have that sense of guiltiness. So I always had this conversation. I always had this issue where even though I plan to stop, but my mind doesn't want to stop. How many of you guys have that issues before? And all of a sudden, all this sense of guiltiness start to creep in. And oh my God, I should do this, I should do that. I haven't done this yet. I'm supposed to complete by end of this week. And then you start bashing yourself. Hey, hi Jimmy, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. Very uncomfortable, then I procrastinate. 100%. Hadia, that's what happened to many people, because that is how our brain works. Because our brain, how it works is it wanted us to always feel safe. The moment when you push yourself out from your comfort zone, you feel, there's a bit of fear in you. The fear started to creep in, and what happened? The resistance will come, and it will show in your inner critic. So another reason why, as I mentioned just now, so many people are not aware when it comes to resistance. It's there, it exists in you. It's just a matter of we have to start learning to be more aware, to be more conscious. Because the moment when that resistance comes in, let's say for instance, like today, when I start my live today, I was like, nobody was like joining me today for about 5 minutes, and I was like just talking to myself, and all of a sudden the resistance starts to kick in just now, saying that, hey Yasmin, stop, don't do this, nobody is going to watch you, you know. So however, because I already aware, and I have built and exercised that inner muscles within me, and I started to learn how to become more conscious the moment when the resistance comes, or you know, just appear, and I can feel it, and I would be able to communicate with it. Hey resistance, thank you so much, I will continue, I will not stop, I will continue, because this is part of my plan. And this is where I have actually promised for people who wanting to join my 3-day accountability challenge. It doesn't matter how many people will join, I have to commit, because this is my promise. Can you see that? Because all these resistance come because of fear. So if you read the book by Susan Jeffer, she talked a lot about fear, and there's 3 different levels of fear. And there are fear where we are actually developing ourselves. So meaning that we learn from our childhood time, and therefore there are certain fear we can actually unlearn it. And again, it goes back into being conscious with it. How is this sitting with you guys? Yeah? Okay, so of course it needs a lot of technique on how to build that inner muscle, as long as you are aware what's going on. Okay, as long as you become more conscious, how important it is to be conscious with it, and how important it is to understand the fear will always be there, especially when you're wanting to do something which is out from your comfort zone. Boom, resistance will kick in, and then this fear will appear. And then what are you going to do with it? Are you going to face it? Are you going to fight or flight? Okay. Hi Raymond, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, so Raymond will put in all the link. If you guys missed a session for day 1 and day 2, so I have actually a workbook. So Raymond will put in all the link for the workbook. And also, if you wanted to know about your thinking style, and you can actually answer the questionnaire, is very I think it takes you only for 10 minutes. Answer the questionnaire, 10 minutes, then you will be able to identify, you know, what kind of thinking style you are actually having currently. And the good news is that your thinking can change, or can be challenged, and can be shifted. Okay, so you guys can just download the workbook and everything. Thank you so much, Raymond. Thank you for all those. For whoever people who wanting to help, need a bit of help in terms of your thinking style after getting those results and everything, so you guys can, you know, PM me, or you know, click the link. I think Raymond, can you put the link on the schedule 1 30-minute session where you can just talk to me? No problem at all, 30-minute session. So take that opportunity, you know, chat with me, and then see how I can actually help you. All right, so now the reason why I'm coming up with this action plan. Okay, so number 1 is where you know that your goal is very important. Yeah, however, this is what I've learned from my mentor as well. There will be time as an entrepreneur, you know, we got to learn to work smart. So for the first 3 years, even for myself as well, I'm still in the process of juggling my time to get a good result. Have you heard about Pareto principle before? 80-20 rules. How many of you guys have heard about 80-20 rules? So you guys can chat with each other as well and say hi to each other. I don't know whether Jimmy is still here or not. So tag your friend if you think that this is very valuable or can help some of your friends. Just tag. You wouldn't be able to share because this is a private platform. Sorry about that. But you can tag who your friends are, or even invite some of your friends to join this platform. Okay, so 80-20 rules. I learned this from my mentor. And have you read the book by, what's the book? What is the name? Timothy Ferris. How many of you guys? Yay! You have read this book, yeah, Sister Hadia? Yeah. So I've read, but not all yet. So I have to go through I read through in terms of, you know, how you should be smart enough to manage your time. So one of the things that I've learned from my mentor is where he actually helped me in terms of calculating the time that I've spent every day. You know, I sat down with him and then look at in terms of where did my time go, and then how much values or what are the costs that I keep on losing for doing something which is not efficient, you know. So 80-20 rules is an amazing concept where you have to start again, going back to your thinking style, people. It's very important. As an entrepreneur, you can't work, you know, 80% of your time and only get 20% result. For how long? So this is my question to you to help you with your thinking as well. For how long you want to stay working 80% of your effort and only get 20% result? How long would you want to stay with that specific situation? It can be very exhausted, guys. I already feel it, you know, like throughout this 3 years journey, my God, I've been like working 80%, but now it's actually started to increase, you know, from 80%, it goes to like 70%, 30%, now it goes like 60%, 40%, because as I mentioned, it needs to have a system. That is one thing. The reason why I'm coming up with the action plan strategy today. And number two, remember guys, we need a system to scale our business. So I would love to challenge your thinking also, even though you are a solopreneur. And I'm glad that I have Raymond now to support me, to help me, because by having, even for only one virtual assistant, I already have one team. Even from there also, I know the pressure, you know, the pressure of me working is not because of him, but the pressure of me working together with Raymond to scale that business, to get more clients, to get more customers. So making sure that all the system all in place first before you can get more, and you know, and get more demand from outside, because you can, okay, so you can reach 80-20% if you don't have a proper system. You are going to feel burnt out. That's what happened to so many people out there, so many people. Because I just had a training session with Kevin Ray. He also mentioned, he shared his journey, 21 years as an entrepreneur. He's a social media guru. He also shared the most toughest part is when you started wanting to scale your business. So therefore, this action plan where I'm helping yesterday, building that structure, widely important goal, and also today the action plan where you are going to have that scoreboard is very important, not just for yourself, but because the moment when you grow, your team members also, they must have their own specific goals. They must have a checkbox. They must have their scorecard as well, making sure that everybody will work in an environment where you have proper system, proper structure, you know, proper process to achieve one goal. That's the whole idea. Yeah, Sister Hadia, of course, I totally agree. So that's the reason why, let's go back in terms of our thinking, you know, how important it is to put all the system in place. It is very, very exhausted. I can feel you. I can even feel myself, you know, for this, throughout these 3 years. However, when the system are all in place, it's just a matter of now replicating it. Do it over and over again. Do it over and over again until you get the result. Because the moment once you got the result in, therefore you can start training other people to use the similar system. So that is where I've been working with Raymond. So I'll be like sitting down with Raymond also in terms of coming up with the action plan together with him, so that he knows his scorecard. He has his own scorecard and I have my own scorecard to achieve one specific objective. Is very, very important. So how are you guys resonating with this conversation? Is this valuable to you? Can you see now how the picture is and where you want to go? Because for me, I do not want to be a solopreneur for the rest of my life. I want to scale my business. I want to grow my business. I want to have more team. After Raymond, I want to have more. Probably I wanted to have one more team for this year. And then I would love to get more extra team. That's it. You never know. Okay, so that is part of my goals. Probably you have your goals. You love it. Thank you so much, Hadia. So now let's go in terms of how. So I think like Hadia, you are very familiar with critical alignment model. Okay, so critical alignment model is where it helps you, you know, to see the overall picture of your business. I love this model so much because I'm using this model throughout in any kind of things that I do, not just in life but also in my business, of course. Yep. So when I run my training session, when I coach my client, you know, when I plan to grow, you know, to scale my business, what are some of my project, my plan, or even when I do marketing, when I wanted to invite more people to attend my webinars and everything. It's all based on critical alignment model, because critical alignment models will give you to the situation where you can see in the bigger picture. So this is why I love to share with everyone today in terms of how you can see from the lens of a DSLR camera. Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, okay, so you need to be able to see in two different views. You imagine yourself, you have a DSLR camera, right? So you can see and focus very, very detailed. And at the same time, you can actually zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What is actually happening in your business? Look at in the bigger scope, holistic scope. And you must have that ability to exercise your muscle to be able to see in the very detailed perspective as well. So can you see now how important it is? Because some of us, again, going back into our thinking style, some people just doesn't like when it comes to something very, very detailed, all those nitty-gritty things, all those techie stuff that you have to learn, you have to measure, you have to look at all those numbers. Because based on my experience coaching some of my clients, majority of my clients, when it comes to numbers, when it comes to checking, you know, look at your cash flows and everything, many of them were saying like, oh, I just hate, you know, looking at all those numbers. I just hate doing all this measurement kind of thing. So many people, you know, have that perspective and mindset, and it becomes very, very uncomfortable for them, because the moment when I coach them, you know, to see more into detailed perspective, many of them feel it's like stretching themselves out from the comfort zone. Again, going back to your brain, because your brain just wants to make you feel safe and not to do something that you haven't experienced before. So sometimes I can see there's a bit of struggle with my client, and it takes a while for me to help them, to support them, because this is something that they are not just familiar, but they don't do it every day. So now I need to help them to make sure that we talk about habit here, guys. So it becomes a habit. So I always help my clients. If you really want to go far in your business, you got to make sure that looking at numbers every day becomes your habit. It must become your habit, because numbers is one of the best measurement tools to see whether your business is performing or not. That's the whole idea. All right. So who agree with this? Who's loving with this conversation? All good? So critical alignment model, see different views. Yes, Hadia, so true. Because every time when I kind of like lost direction, you know, and I wanting, you know, to come up with certain project or certain program or coming out with certain idea, I will always start with the critical alignment model, because it gives me into different perspective of looking at a bigger perspective and also into a more detailed perspective as well. Yeah? All good? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, sister. All right, so let's go with the critical alignment model. Yeah. It has 4 different categories. E, environment. S, structure. I, implementation. And P is for people. So this is where I would love to highlight, you know, with you guys, and bring that awareness level as well, to start, you know, be curious with it, and then start not just exploring, but implementing it. You know, it can be a bit clunky at first because you are not familiar of using it, but learn. You know, whenever there's a resistance, you know, talk to your resistance saying that, hey, it's okay. It is something new, but I just want to learn. And I wanted it to become part of a habit in my business. Okay? So, there are 4 categories: environment, structure, implementation, and people. So, in the environment is something I always share with my clients. So, environment is something that you can't touch. You can't see, but you can feel. It's within you. For instance, like your belief system, your values, the culture that you're going to bring in your business. What is your vision? What is your mission? You know, something that is within you, something that you can feel. Something probably might be very important to you, for instance, like what are your values? You know, how do you bring the values in your business? So environment plays a very important role, for instance, like your mindset as well. So that's the reason why when I coach and mentor my client, I always start by looking and helping them with their mindset. How to learn to manage themselves, self-mastery. I help them to build that inner muscle within them. I give them tools. There are so many tools that I give them and I get them to practice. Because that inner muscle within you is the strength for you either to move forward or for you to just back off. Okay, I'll give up. Okay, so I work closely with many of my clients to start with the environment. So same goes in your business as well. You got to be very clear, you know, what is the direction that you want to go? What is your vision? What is your mission? Put it on a piece of paper and then post it somewhere, you know, in your room, in your office. Make sure that you always look at it so that it becomes so meaningful to you. It becomes so deep within you, how meaningful it is for you to achieve that. Okay, so that is the environment. So we have spoke about this a lot on day 1 in terms of, you know, your big why. So I've already explained about that, you know, your big why, you know, your thinking strategy, how you can actually shift your thinking, how you can actually challenge your thinking, you know, because your thinking will determine your action. So number 2 is the structure. So yesterday we spoke a lot about widely important goal, how important it is to have a structure. You know, so develop a structure. It's a plan for you so that if you fall off or you kind of like lose track, you get back on track much more quicker because you can actually see, right, this is where I begin, right, I fall off within that specific area. I have to get back on track and then start looking into that specific area again. You know what I mean? So it gives you some kind of like certainty because the structure is already there. You will not feel lost. Because have you had that experience before? You know, kind of like you lose track and then you wanted to start again. You were like, oh my God, this is so exhausting. I have no idea where to begin, how to start. I'm lost. Have you had that experience before? And then what happened? You started to feel overwhelmed. You can't focus. But with the structure, it helps you. And in fact, in my case, when I work together with my virtual assistant, we already starting to come up with the structure. So when things happen or problems happen, you know, I don't have to go around and start looking around. You know, is it the problem with my landing page? Is it the problem with my website? You know, is it problem in my emails and everything? We already categorize things. So if things happen, we can just go straight into that specific area because of the structure. It's already well organized. You know, when I wanted to work together, start with my webinars and everything. So I'll just get my virtual assistant to organize, you know, all the sequence of my email. So he will organize things out. So if I just want to look at in terms of the emails for my webinar, can you just provide me all those emails? I need to do some tweaking and editing. You know, I need to do a bit in terms of the copywritings and so on. So how easy it is for me to work together with my virtual assistant because it's all well organized and structured. Can you see that? Yeah? How is this sitting with you guys? Making sense to you? And the last one is where, of course, the third last is implementation. Because once you have all the structure ready, then it's easy for you to implement. In fact, when I do all these live trainings and so on, I already have all those structure. So those structure in place, I know what to say, when to give example, so that you can see how when I conduct all my live sessions and everything, it's flow because there's all the structure in place. Yeah. Okay. And the last but not least, of course, we as an entrepreneur, guys, is so important. When it comes to people, I love this. Whenever I have a conversation with my clients, I love, to share with them, some of the strategy, how you calibrate, your tone, how you pitch, so those kind of thing also needs a skill. And emotional intelligence is a very smart tools that I always share with my clients, when you start wanting to build that relationship. And of course, because I'm specialized in marketing, so for me, whatever it takes in business, when you market your business, it's all about building trust. And building trust needs some skill. Because so many people out there, when they think about, right, I'm doing business online and everything, people are too focused with all those technology, too focused with all this algorithm, how to create a landing page, all this copywriting and so on. But hey, relax. Whatever it is, you got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. You are dealing with a human being. So in marketing, before I even help people in terms of the implementation, teach them about what need to do and everything, but I get them to zoom out first. You got to understand, you are dealing with a human being, a human being to another human being. So it's very important, it's very crucial to understand how to market yourself and to who, by understanding how to communicate, to build that relationship and trust. It's very important, guys. Yeah. So what we're going to do is I am going to touch in terms of the implementation. So again, one of the way how I did this and how I would love, to help with you guys is more about coming up with the scoreboard. So I have been doing this for quite some time. As I said, I'm a human being also. Sometimes, yes, I'm on track, sometimes just off track. So what is happening? Okay, I'm not going to put it here. I'm going to share with you guys how I did this and how you can actually follow. But definitely, as what the book by Chris was saying, that try not to have too many goals, okay? And please do not be too adventurous when it comes to creating all the tasks square, okay? So be mindful with that, because we are still human beings. There are other things that we have to do also. We are not just doing business here, especially we as a mom, we have other responsibility as well, correct? So therefore, do not be too adventurous. You can be adventurous with your goals, okay? Set up whatever goals that you want to set up, but try not to be too adventurous yet when it comes to dealing with listing all the tasks. Do not have too many tasks. Because for me, when I started this journey, I starting to have too many tasks. And what happened? I can't complete most of the tasks. And then what happened? I start bashing myself. I start feeling very frustrated with myself. And then what will happen? I'll just stop. Nah, not doing, it's not working. Until I read the book and I started to realize how important it is to simplify things. Make things simple. I always mention this to all my clients, or whoever, wanting to learn about business, marketing, and so on. Make it simple. The way that how our brain works is also the same thing. Apart from making us to feel safe, okay, so our brain loves to capture things which is logic. And our brains love, to capture things which is simple and logic. So it will capture very fast. But if too complex, too complicated, means that your brain has to work harder, double harder to understand. What are you trying to say? What a message you are actually sending. So same goes with what you want to do. Make it simple. Simplify things. So one day only have 5 tasks. But for myself, because I'm used to it, so I can actually go. It depends on the my schedule as well. Because sometimes I have schedules where I have like 2-3 coaching per day. So that is why I have to really be careful in terms of listing all the tasks. So the word here, guys, make it simple and sweet. Then only you can see that you will be able to take that action, even though it's a small baby step, but you feel good with yourself because you have the ability to complete. Have you had any experience where you have all those checklists and then you start ticking, tick, 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 tick? How do you feel? Feel good with yourself? We feel good, right? So this is where I'm going to share with you. So can you guys see from here? So this is where I know this is just too much for you guys. Don't follow as what I'm doing because I've been doing this for 2 years already. So this is my widely important goal because I have actually shared with everyone yesterday how to set up with widely important goals. So you have like, now it's like third quarter, right? So you should be having your task for July, August, and September. But the main purpose, what I would love to get is to build my database. I want to have more people to subscribe for my business. So that's the reason why you can see there's a numbers here. So the numbers here is, we call it as lead. So I wanted to get more leads, and I even have like a very specific number. So by July, I must get 30 leads. The reason being is because I've been running webinar. Okay, so I wanted to have more people to register for my webinar. So if I have more leads, definitely the percentage or the tendency or probability for me getting more people to register, of course, it will be higher. Yeah. So this aim is where I've been very clear with myself and my virtual assistant. So every time when I plan to come up with certain projects and so on, I make sure that my virtual assistant is also clear what I wanted to achieve. So he knows that I'm targeting 30 leads and I'm targeting to get another webinar coming. 35 people must register. Okay, so how is this setting with you guys? So then after that, you have to start designing, and planning what you need to do in order to aim for that 30 leads or 35 registration. What do you need to do? Of course, for myself, I wanted to make sure that my marketing strategy will always be consistent. So I always have to be out there, marketing to people so that people will start to recognize and be aware. What am I doing? Who is Dr. Raja Yasmin? What is she trying to do? Oh, thank you so much, Adia. Thank you. So you got to understand, all right, in terms of what specific tasks that you must apply, you must implement in order to get that result. It's very important. So you got to test and measure it. Okay, so I am very focused now in terms of my marketing here. So even you look at in terms of my marketing, I have a few live, and also I have will be coming up with my Facebook ads. So how many Facebook ads? Because Facebook ads is something which is pretty new to me, but I even have the specific days, how many days and how much I'm willing to spend. So can you see how important it is, to structure and simplify things and have numbers in it, because it helps to give you some kind of clarity and focus what you want to achieve. Yeah. And I even have how many live videos, and now I'm being very consistent of networking event, and I have to make sure that every month I must run at least one webinar. So that's the whole idea, because the main purpose, of course, for the whole big widely important goals here, so I have numbers, how much I want to achieve in terms of my sales. Okay, so can you see how it's been connected? And now this is where, can you see from here? So this is where we call it as a scorecard. This scorecard, guys, is so important. Initially, I did not believe with all this scorecard thing. So again, as I mentioned last time, because of my ego, being rebellious and so on, I thought that all these things, this sounds so childish. Why I have to do all this? Because it again, when we talk about habit, sometimes to build that habit, we need to have certain trigger. We need to have certain trigger to be able to push us. Have you guys read the book by Mel Robbins? I love her books where she introduced the concept of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you read the book? It's quite interesting. you know, how you can actually trigger your brain, because your brain can actually be influenced very quickly. The moment when you decided to do something, and that resistance will come up within 5 seconds. So if you allow that resistance to comes up, what will happen? You will delay, you will procrastinate. So I love the concept by Mel Robbins when she mentioned about the concept of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, do it. So why I'm sharing this also is because sometimes we just got to trigger and push ourselves more in order to do things that we know is so meaningful to us. Because as what Janice was saying just now, at the end of the day, your goal is so meaningful to you. You really want to achieve that goal. It matters so much to you. When you manage to reach that goal, you know how fulfilling it is to you, isn't it? The only challenge is, as I mentioned on my first day, is in the process is in the middle. The start is very exciting. You'll be very excited at first. However, the challenge happened in the middle. That's why the challenge began. And today, I'm actually helping you guys out to come up with this scorecard. So what happened is every day now, I make it as a habit. So how do you deal with this habit? One thing is to come up with this scorecard. You know, so you can see from here, I have like, for instance, like coming up with the FB Live. And then I commit to myself. This is a promise to myself. Doesn't matter how many will be watching or not. But this is my commitment. And I wanted this to make it more consistently. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. You're here. Awesome. Thank you for being here. I don't know you're here. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. So you got all this scorecard. And again, sometimes people, when they look at all these things, this is crap, man. Do I have to do all these things? And then it has to go back to your thinking. Goes back to the process of critical alignment model, ESIP. So if your thinking style or your thinking strategy or how you're thinking at this current stage have not been fixed yet, you can't go straight into implementation. It will not happen. So you got to dive in back and look at in terms of your mindset. Are you still allowing that resistance to happen and to stop you from moving forward? If that's happened, go back to the environment and be more clear in terms of your thinking. What are you thinking right now? Is this a problem to you? If you doesn't want this to become a problem to you, what needs to change or what needs to stop? Yeah. Hey, hi, yes. How are you? Thank you. Thank you for being here. Didn't realize you guys are here. Okay, so this scorecard is important. Yeah. For you to start triggering yourself is one thing, and it gives you certainty also. It gives you more confidence. You know, it's sometimes we are like a child sometimes. Like, we need someone to keep on telling us that you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. But sometimes it's just that nobody will tell you. Only you yourself have that power to tell yourself, do it or not to do it. Yeah? So remember when I shared the story about me going and see the doctor. The doctor was like telling me, Yasmin, you have a choice here. You can make your own decision. You know, whatever life that you want to have, you have the power to choose yes or no. There's no in between. Yes, go for it. No, done, give up. That's all. So with this scorecard, you know, you can start tracking how you are doing every single day. Because this is what I'm saying about the small baby step. It's just a small step. Okay, fine. I have to do a social media post. And I do this together with my virtual assistant, making sure that he got his own scorecard as well. Making sure that he knows that, right, for every day, he must at least have one social media post for me. And I have to come up with the content for 5 days, you know. And then I have some other project as well to make sure that I will start getting more and more people subscribe to my business. So I have my other project, for instance, like I'm planning to have an interview session. And, you know, like apart from the FB Live, I also have my online portals that I'm actually working on. Because all those things also plays an important role for me to aim for my bigger, widely important goals. Which is how much sales that I want to make in this 3 months time. By end of September, how much that I want to make. And therefore, you chunk it down from quarterly, and then you chunk it down further in terms of the top 5. What are the 5 things that you must do every week? Only 5. Don't go more than that. Don't go too much, as I mentioned. if you kind of like too over ambitious, sometimes it stops you because you feel very exhausted and you feel that some of it you can't finish or complete it. What happened? You will carry forward, carry forward, and carry forward. And you become very exhausted with yourself. Have you had that experience before? You got all those checklists and then all of a sudden you kind of like, carry forward. Don't feel like doing it. However, this checklist is actually proven as a pushing factor and a driver. And also it helps to track you that you are actually progressing. Do you love this? And in fact, I just want to show you guys in terms of I have my personal. I've got my personal checklist as well, guys. No? Yeah, and I've been very honest with myself. If I did not do it, I crossed. If I did it, then I put a tick. And the whole week after that, by looking at the top 5 weekly, these are the 5 things that I have to complete. And then I look at my scoreboard. My gosh, I feel very happy with myself because I'm tracking, even though it's a small step. However, this will help you to keep on moving forward. How is this resonating with you guys? Loving this? Love it? Love this concept? So again, when I mentioned about, planning to scale your business, guys, this is very important because one day you're going to have team in your business. If you already have team, I understand that, yes, you already have your own team, right? So basically, this scorecard is also very important for your team so that everybody will be able to check and look at each other's progress. Because at the end of the day, your business wanting to achieve one goal, correct? One direction, one mission. If every single one of you guys, every single one of your team, have all this scorecard together and you can start checking each other, you can start giving feedback. And I am going to do this with my virtual assistant, also with Raymond. I haven't sat down with him. However, when it comes to widely important goals, when I have that conversation with Raymond, I always mention to him the big picture first. Okay, Raymond, by 30th September, this is what we're going to achieve together. Okay, so these are the tasks that we must do and complete. And then we chunk it down and we make it more specific so that he can see, because we just created the database, me and Raymond together, because he knows what he needs to do. What is his checklist? What is my checklist? So you can see it's progressing. It's working. Can you see that? You love it, Hadia? Yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. So for people who've been here from day 1, day 2, and day 3, okay, so it shows that you're very committed, guys. You're very committed that you want to go for. You're very committed that this time you really want to achieve your goal. Yes, that's okay. As a human being, sometimes we kind of like off track. At least this strategy will bring back and put your back on track. Remember when I mentioned about model excellence, guys? All these successful people, they are using the same method. Even though if all this whiteboard here and there, yeah, if you can see from, you haven't seen, let me show you guys. Okay, so I even have my own planner. For my own planner for one whole year. See? So this is my planner for 2021. So all these things, I love it. I learned it from my mentor. So my mentor suggested me to have this planner so that you can see in terms of where your goals are, where do you want to go, where you can start tracking yourself and whether you can actually achieve it. Is all in here. So when I have a discussion with my team, these actually help me. It's kind of like a map for you, a map for your business. All right, guys, so thank you so much, guys, for being here. I truly appreciate it.